Hey everybody, Iron Off-Road here, back with another install video. Today we're going to show you our 4-link WJ exhaust system. So this is for if you have our 4-link rear long arm system, and this is our exhaust kit to go with it. This kit's going to save you a lot of time and money versus going to an exhaust shop. It's extremely high clearance. It's 2.5 inch, all mandrel bent, heavy gauge tubing. Comes with the muffler, a front pipe, tailpipe. It does require welding. If you have a catalytic converter in the back, some of the newer WJs have 2 front catalytic converters and none in the back. Some of the older ones have 1 in the back. So if you do have 1 in the back, you're going to want to cut this right here and weld in an aftermarket catalytic converter that we sell, or you can reuse your stock catalytic converter if you want to. This being a newer one does not have that catalytic converter. And that's about it. Let's get to installing it. If you watched our 4-link installation video, we had to cut the exhaust back here, which is great if you're going to an exhaust shop to get the exhaust fabricated for you. For our exhaust system, we remove it right here. So keep everything from here forward, remove everything from here back. If you do have a factory catalytic converter right in this area, you're going to want to cut it right behind the catalytic converter and then just shorten up, just cut off the front of our front pipe that we give you, cut it off and just weld it to your factory pipe. Before we start with the actual exhaust, you're going to want to remove your coil springs, disconnect your rear shocks, and disconnect your rear sway bar. That way you can bring the axle all the way up to full suspension compression and make sure the exhaust clears your control arms, clears your axle, clears everything. First part to go in is our front pipe. Orient this bend so it points approximately in the same direction as your control arm. Remove your original exhaust hanger. Save one of the bolts. Take your new exhaust hanger. Put the bolt in the bottom hole and the bottom hole here. Alright, hanger's tightened up. Next up is the tailpipe. I'm going to insert the hanger rod into the rubber hanger. Next up is the muffler. It looks symmetrical, but there is a front and a rear. The little scoops inside, they should be open towards the front of the Jeep, open towards the engine. Insert it all the way. Now we're going to raise the rear axle all the way to full stuff. This exhaust system does require a minimum of a 4-inch bump stop spacer. That is included with your 4-link kit. I have an electrical wire in the way. Just pop that tree rivet right out. We'll relocate these later. Everything is roughly in position. I'm going to put a rag in here just to act as a spacer. Now the most important thing when you're installing this exhaust is to make sure there's clearance around everything. What we really want is about a 1/4 inch of clearance, maybe 3/8. Just a fingertip is a bare minimum clearance. So you can trim this heat shield if you have to, just to buy you a little more clearance in here. The drive shaft, you need clearance in the drive shaft. So if you need to adjust your clearance, you rotate this front pipe around a little bit, and that's how you adjust your clearance. You can slide things forward and back. These expansion joints, you move them in and out if you need to. So yeah, first we're going to check right here at the heat shield, right here at the drive shaft. I've got a fingertip in each location. Right here at the floor. Plenty of room at the heat shield. This will clear a factory receiver hitch. Just need to push the whole thing forward a little bit. Then check all our clearances again. Now exhaust, as it heats up, will expand rearward. So we want to have at least a 1/2 inch clearance here at the receiver hitch. So the reason we're doing this with the axle at full compression is because everything's very tight. With these control arms and any 4-link system, it's very difficult to route an exhaust. So, and our exhaust is very high ground clearance. So that makes everything very tight under here. So take your time, really do this right. Make sure you get clearance everywhere. All right, I've quadruple checked all my clearances. All my clearances are perfect. Time to put some tack welds on it. I'm gonna put 3 or 4 tack welds on each end of the muffler. Okay, I put 4 good tack welds on each end of the muffler. Now we're going to lower the axle and take the whole entire exhaust system out and weld it on the bench. I've unbolted my exhaust hanger. We're going to slide the whole exhaust system out. It's going to take a little bit of finagling. Very careful not to break your tack welds or bend anything or move anything. But there you go. Now we can weld it on the bench. All right, it's all welded up. Be sure to weld the outer case of the muffler to the tailpipe and to the pipe. Now since I'm not a professional welder, it's great to do this outside of the Jeep. Now I can look it over and make sure I didn't miss any spots or cause any little holes. And then it's ready to go back in the Jeep. I actually inserted it. It's all welded up, it's put back in. I double checked all of my clearances one more time just to make sure nothing moved during welding. And the final weld is going to be right around here. It has to be done under the Jeep, unfortunately. Weld it up here, then reroute ABS wires and electrical wires, get all that stuff out of the way, away from the exhaust, and put the springs back in, shocks back in, and I think that's it. Check my weld to make sure there's no leaks. Good to go. All right, that wraps up our installation. We checked it for leaks, checked every single weld for leaks, no leaks. Springs are back in, shocks are back in. We fired it up, it really sounds nice. Very high ground clearance, and that was a pretty easy installation. Much easier than hiring an exhaust shop. Next step, go enjoy it.